Hey everybody, this is Villegas, part 2 of Imperialism, and we're looking at the Taiping Rebellion, and we left off at the Treaty of Nanjing, which was a result of their loss in the Opium War. Before we get to the Taiping Rebellion, though, it's important to note that what China has gone through. They've gone through a dynasty in decline. They've gone through a terrible war. They've gone through an instance where their people are severely addicted to this drug, and they're basically victims of the imperialistic age, so to speak. So if all of that isn't enough, now we're dealing with a rebellion within the country itself, and we're also dealing with a rebellion that is led by this mentally unstable person named Hang. And this guy, who actually believes he's the younger brother of Jesus, wants to change China in itself as far as the land reform goes. He wants to create an equality for women, and there was actually a group of women called the Hakka women that joined him in his fight against the Qing dynasty. So, and you might ask yourself, well, people actually believe this guy, that he was the brother of Jesus? Well, I ask you in return, if you're living in a nation in which you're desperate for stability, you're willing to cling on to any form of promise that he's going to turn around and make this place better. In your homeworks, you had a question about millennialism, and if you look up the term millennialism, it will direct you towards a saying of 1,000 years, and it's this belief that God is going to come here, or like a prophet of God is going to come, and he's going to lead you for 1,000 years in a golden age, and he's going to make things better. So people wanted to believe in this thought because it promised them a better life. Unfortunately, look what happens. We have 30 million people dying as a result of this. And the funny part is, the British actually work with the Qing dynasty to squash this rebellion. The British pay the Qing dynasty to get rid of them, because it's causing a problem for their trade as well. So all around, this was bad for the Chinese. And then, we're not going to stop there, folks. We got another rebellion. It's called the Boxer Rebellion. And the group of people in the Boxer Rebellion that led this were called the Righteous Harmonious Fists. These guys worked out believing that it would help them withstand bullets. Let me repeat that. These guys did workouts because they believed it would help them withstand bullets. Look at this form of thinking. They're still in their ethnocentric world. They still believe they are protected almost divinely, against these modernized foreign devils in these foreign countries. So, it's natural to say they're going to lose. And it ends up being that we see they do cause a lot of damage. $330 million in reparations the Chinese had to end up paying because the Americans came in to help squash these guys. So unfortunately, it did not work out for the Boxers, but it definitely proved the point that the Chinese did not want the foreigners there. And we're going to revisit China in the nationalist movements of Sun Yat-sen and then moving on to Chiang Kai-shek, but we're not ready for that yet. So just know that for now, China is getting carved up into spheres of influence, even though the people have made intentions to not be taken over. And we're going to move into the... Okay, so we're in another part of the world for this section of imperialism. We're looking at Oceania and Java. If you notice, the island of Java is right here. And, we look at these island nations, and we are definitely looking at a large Muslim population. And it is important to note that wherever you're talking about in the world at a specific time, you want to remember how the religion of that location plays a role in its society, because certain religions will enforce laws, certain religions will influence how the government functions, certain religions will influence social classes. So you want to definitely put that into perspective. Now, with this area of the world during the age of imperialism, you want to remember that the Dutch came into this part of the world, and it was the Dutch who the British would copy in imperialism. They noticed that the Dutch, were smooth operators. They went into these places and they were all about tolerating the culture of their natives. And then as time went on, as they became more confident in their imperialist nature, and they felt that they could actually be successful in infiltrating their different religions such as Christianity, they actually did that. So the British copied that and then used that when they went into South Africa and India. And one more point to make about this, they didn't want to insult the native population, so they definitely did want to show their tolerance to appear as though they weren't going to penetrate the ownership over these islands. Now, as a result, Oceania and Java are going to experience widespread human suffering. These folks were isolated for a very long time before the Europeans got there, and as a result, when they come into contact with these Europeans, they're going to get some nasty, nasty diseases. I'm talking, dysentery, typhoid, malaria. In some locations, they're going to experience smallpox. It's just not fun. So a lot of the populations in these different locations were significantly reduced and experienced terrible losses. And it was mostly because they were isolated for a very long time. Anyway, moving on. We're going to go to this next slide here. With this, we're going to see that mixed marriages are going to be encouraged. And what this does with the Dutch traders and the natives, it brings a closer bond so that the interaction might increase due to the fact that you are socializing amongst each other. So we're going to see a similar pattern as was in Latin America, where the encomienda system, well, not necessarily the slave system, I'm talking about the social class system. We're going to see that the Europeans put themselves at the top, and then the original aristocrats of the location are going to fall underneath. And with this power, the Dutch are going to do very well in trade. They're going to, and if you don't know what burgeoning means, it's like a flourishing. You're growing in strength. So they are definitely establishing a power force during this time period. And also, if you had occupied a location in the area of the Southeast Asia, you had a reputation of an imperial power. So it was definitely a relationship, not a relationship, a reputation starter. Alright, so we got this kingdom of Mataram. Now what happens here is the Dutch come in and they're looking at the control of this area, and they know that these people of this kingdom have very limited interaction with the Dutch. So the Dutch are going to really super take it slow and play the people of this kingdom upon each other. So here you see civil wars breaking out, and the Dutch will actually pay for these wars to happen. So it encourages arguments and fights because the Dutch know that this is going to help them gain control of this area. Now, in the next slide here, it's going to say that the Dutch they're going to take control over Java. And in this slide, we're going to see the word precarious. Now, if you don't know what precarious means, it's along the lines of not being secure. You're dependent. So when the Dutch first come in here, they know that they're not that strong. So they're going to at first have to deal with paying tribute to the sultans, and as they gain more and more ground, they're going to start a monopoly in the area. And once they have that monopoly, they have started a reputation within the natives that they are strong. And so when the sultans go to them for help, the Dutch are able to agree that they need help, but in exchange for that, they demand that they are given territories around them. So this is something that the sultans are going to agree to. But with each succession that the Dutch gain, it leads to more and more land being taken away from the natives and then thus given to the Europeans. So by mid-18th century, the sultans of Mataram are only going to control like the center of it, and the Dutch are going to control most of the island. So unfortunately, Java had been transformed into the core of an Asian empire that would last for 200 years. And that comes straight from your textbook, that last line. Now, if you look at this map here, it's going to show you different routes. And while you're looking at this map, I want you to recall last year all the different trade routes that were occurring throughout time. So you're going to see, the Indian Ocean route amongst these. And, we have also, of course, there is still land trade going on. But with the advancement in shipbuilding techniques, we're going to see more and more of trade happening across the sea. Wow, look at this place. Lots of islands. I'm talking thousands and thousands of islands. This geographic area is super important because a lot of whalers come here. Australia is going to be known for its gold. They're going to be mining over there. Having colonies here are going to give you, again, profits and a reputation for outposts. So, along with this, we're going to see demographic shifts and disease, again, going on. And, again, this is present day. A lot of it is Polynesia. Pretty wide area to come in and explore and figure out how to take over. Now, if you look at some of the islands in Oceania, most are going to be, a monarchy, which is ruled by a king or queen, sole ruler. And all of these different archipelagos are going to be wanted by these Europeans because, more land is going to equal more power. So the reasons for going into Oceania are going to, of course, be to expand your power. But some countries are going to use the excuse of, hey, we want to learn about science, and there's this cool chance to see a planet in rotation. So they're going to take chances at going into Oceania to explore some plants, animals, and, of course, the astronomy. All right, this guy, James Cook, Hawaii. James Cook, kind of a weird guy. He actually goes on several expeditions to this area, and on the third voyage, he's going to hit up Hawaii. Now, at the time, things were cool. He got, the ruler of Hawaii, which I'm terrible at pronunciation, as Ms. Panzer will tell you, so I'm not going to pronounce this guy's name, but he actually gets this guy to agree to work with him. Unfortunately, though, James Cook ends up having a fight with one of the local leaders, and he gets stabbed and killed. And he dies on Valentine's Day, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, so this explorer, navigator, pioneer, actually allows for the trade to occur. And we're going to see, from this point, we're going to see missionaries going in there. We're going to see astronomers going in there. We're going to see scientists going in there. And Hawaii is ultimately, as it says in your notes, exploited. And same as usual, this disease is going to come in, and they're going to eventually be taken over due to the weakness that they're going to experience from the imperialization by the Europeans. Now, believe it or not, the United States won't claim Hawaii until like 1898, and before that, Christianity comes in, as I said before, and actually there's these two queens that from Hawaii. They're actually going to try to help modernize Hawaii and lift some of the women's roles in Hawaii. So that's pretty cool. So again, we see an example of education of the Europeans kind of biting them in the butt, where they're not going to be able to control the natives as successfully as they wanted to. Alright, this is another map. Ms. Panzer loves maps. And I want to clue you in on Australia over here, because this is where we're going next. And we're also going to talk about New Zealand, this little